people would not have moved to containers if there was not an immediate business case over there. But once you've done that, and once you start seeing those efficiencies, the change in efficiencies, the next set of value gets created when you start looking for entirely new business models and entirely new designs that exploit these new efficiencies. So the assumptions have changed, and now you start redesigning systems around those assumptions. And once you've done that, when this becomes the standard for your industry, that is when you can start using this as a coordination mechanism to start benefiting from externalities. And that's what we saw with the container revolution. Today, we're seeing that in a much bigger way with what I think of as the platform revolution, but more broadly with digitization in general. If you look at what digitization does, digitization creates a standard for the coordination of multiple participants by taking a market actor or a market action, and an action or an interaction between participants, digitizing it, digitizing the intent behind it, digitizing the actual action, and then coordinating the market around this digitized action. So let's take a few examples. In the past, buyer behavior was captured in silos. If you went to a shop, your buyer behavior would be captured on the sales receipt, and maybe it would be captured and it would sit somewhere in a database that would not talk to the rest of the world. What Amazon and Netflix did was they digitized the buyer behavior for the first time. Think of it as similar to the container example I just gave. Because your buyer behavior got digitized, it could move around. It could move around within Amazon, it could move around to partners of Amazon, it could move around in the system, and different participants could use this standardized implementation, this standardized expression of buyer behavior to create new business models. As a result of which, the first few kinds of evolution that we saw with the digitization of buyer behavior was the rise of personalization. We started seeing retailers like Amazon and Netflix encouraging entirely new interactions that would not have happened in the past because that data about buyer behavior was not being captured. A little further down the line, with the rise of the social web, we saw the digitization of identity. Before Facebook, before the rise of the social web, the internet was a place filled with anonymous people, and so it was very difficult to trust someone on the internet. Everything that we see today in the form of the sharing economy, in the form of real-world transactions actually happening between people, have been enabled because identity got digitized, as a result of which trust got digitized. First, the identity got digitized, and then specific vertical trust parameters were created. Could you stay at somebody's place? Airbnb created a specific trust parameter for that. Could you get into somebody's car? Uber created a specific trust parameter for that. And again, what we see is that when this critical market interaction parameter, the most critical parameter over here, the decision on whether you would want to stay with somebody, the critical parameter of trust, the moment that got digitized, you started seeing entirely new interactions happening. Again, you started seeing externalities coming up. Further down the line, with the smartphone revolution, with the widespread adoption of smartphones, location got digitized. Now your car could be a digital object. In the past, your car was not a digital object, which is why when Zipcar first launched, they failed to get traction. But when Uber launched, when Lyft launched, they got traction really fast because they could use the car as a digitized object. They could use data about where cars were moving around, traffic patterns, what was happening all over the city, and all of that helped them move this market towards entirely new interactions. So again, we see this pattern repeated commonly every time digitization hits a certain market. In a vein very similar to what happened with containerization, what digitization does is it standardizes a specific parameter in the market interaction, and once that parameter gets standardized, it allows a whole range of external participants to come in and interact around that parameter. Given that a car's location is digitized, as a consumer, I can start interacting with that car through the Uber application. We've seen this happen with the rise of labor platforms as well. Reputation got digitized, and so clients can now look for freelancers, companies can extend their labor force on the cloud, all of which happened because reputation got digitized. And finally, in heavy industry, we're starting to see machine performance getting digitized. where you can determine how well a certain machine is behaving, and on the basis of that you can create a whole new range of services, whether it is in terms of monetizing the uptime of the machine or maintaining the machine before the machine even fails. All of these things are possible because the new form of digitalization has entered a particular market.